Hey there, everybody. This is a CLNS Red Sox Roundtable, off-day edition for you. Alex, Barth, Nick Quaglia with you. We have a chance here, off day. We are 19 games into the season. Seems like a good time to check up on the manager, Alex Cora. First 19 games of his managerial career. Seems to have hit his first crossroads with the game on Sunday. I guess his second, because remember, Nick, there was that game against the Rays where he even said in the press conference the next day he should have taken JD Martinez out of the game, but it slipped his mind. But they ended up winning that game. This is the first real consequential decision we've seen from Alex Cora. He leaves David Price in for the 8th inning. David Price gives up a 3-run home run, and the Red Sox lose for the second game in a row for the first time this year. Now, we'll skip my favorite question of the day. Is it too early to say the Red Sox peaked too early? But let's get into that decision from Alex Cora. Was it okay for him to put Price back out there in the 8th inning?
8th inning, yes, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. He had what? You said it right before we got on the show. 79 pitches.
So he had 79 pitches after 7 innings. When he gave up the home run, which was, I believe, 5 batters into the inning, that pitch count had risen to 93 going into that at-bat. It was a first pitch home run.
Yep. So he's going deep into the game. There's no problem with me with him going or with him putting David Price back in the game. What I do have a problem with in this scenario is, and I know it was a low pitch count, but my big problem with this scenario is that he had nobody warming up in the bullpen. But that's a story that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So you have David Price again goes back out there, low pitch count, and then he allows 2 men on base. Now, if you have a guy who's warming up in the bullpen, in my opinion, that's when you bring him out. It's not like it's a game where you're tied, or I mean, we're up 4-1 rather. It's a game where you're tied 1-1. It's a game where your offense isn't really producing a lot. You have to look at that option. And to me, not the first big mistake is, other than that atrocious lineup that he had out there, first big mistake is just not having a guy warmed up in the bullpen to go. So once you get 2 guys on base, that is where things start to get hairy. You've got nobody to replace him. You've got nobody to come out and relieve him. Now, here's another scenario or another incident that I saw when he was on the mound in this inning that surprised me and worried me during the game. So Jed Lowry's up to bat. Jed Lowry's got one of the hottest bats in baseball. As Johnny Gomes will tell you, he's a switch hitter, which means, Alex, he can hit from both sides of the plate. That's a Johnny Gomes-ism.
Johnny Gomes told me a lot. Throwing 50 pitches through 2 innings is bad. I learned that. I learned that it is a velocity hitting league. I never really learned what that meant, but I learned it in the American League, not the National League. The American League is a velocity hitting league. There was another really good one. I got to remember what it is, but continue.
He says insane things all the time. But no, so Jed Lowry's
he challenged Charlie Moore to a fight.
Yes, yeah. Which I'll give that to Johnny Gomes all day. Johnny Gomes will whoop him. But look, anyway,
Johnny Gomes challenging Charlie Moore to a fight during a Red Sox broadcast is like peak New England summer.
It's wild. That's July.
You got to have just enough beers in you to enjoy that.
But anyway, so Jed Lowry's up to bat. David Price strikes him out, right? David Price fist pumps, takes a step towards the dugout. David Price thinks he got out of the inning. That is not a good sign. He lost track of the outs. He thought he was out of the inning. I don't know if you saw that. So then initially, right when I saw that, I said, oh no, here we go. And then Chris Davis, one of, if not their most threatening hitter in the lineup, first pitch goes yard. Again, my biggest issue is the fact that he did not have somebody warming up. You have to have somebody warmed up in that situation, even if it's Carson Smith, whoever it is.
Well, here's the thing about that. We heard Cora say that the line all summer was we're going to use Craig Kimbrel in non-traditional situations. That was his big thing, is he was going to redefine the closer role, and they're going to use Craig Kimbrel when they needed him most, not when it made sense. So, well, you know what I mean by that. Like, he's going to make it make sense in other times.
Yep.
This was the perfect time to use him. Kimbrel hasn't pitched this year. All the games have been blowouts. Go to Kimbrel there. And I wonder, maybe, just maybe, was Alex Cora chasing stats? Does he leave David Price in the game for the 8th because he's seen what this lineup can do all year? He thinks they're going to score in the 9th. He can get David Price to winning Kimbrel to save, which if he's chasing stats, that is bad. Anytime a manager chases stats, when players chase stats, it's bad. So that concerns me a little bit. I wonder if he's maybe gotten too cushy with this lineup and he expects them to clean things up when realistically, you're not going to get that game in and game out. You can't count on them to hit in the 9th inning when they haven't hit in innings 1 through 8.
Especially when you roll that lineup out.
Right.
That lineup was garbage.
Maybe you would have pinch hit. Here's my real issue with it. On the surface, Price, 79 pitches through 7, and then leaving him in general, fine. But Alex Cora has been so overly protective of his starting pitchers this year, which I'm okay with. I am on board for that. We've seen Chris Sale break down in the playoffs. Drew Pomeranz break down in the playoffs. Rick Porcello break down in the playoffs. Don't give them a lot of innings. I'm fine with that. But be consistent. David Price hadn't thrown that much. We saw it with Chris Sale, too, on Saturday. His first start where he went over 100 pitches. And once he got around pitch 88, 90, he started to fade. You can't just bring these guys from 5 innings, 65, 70 pitches to 8 innings and 90 pitches. There needs to be a transition. And people have told me when I say this, well, you know, with 79 pitches, what's the difference if it's 6 innings or 8 innings? There's a mental element to going back to the dugout, sitting for 25 minutes, going back out, throwing another round of warm-ups, no matter how many pitches you're at. David Price had not built up to throwing 8 innings. So Alex Cora needs to figure this out. Is he going to be conservative with the starting pitchers, or is he going to ride them when they're hot? I'm fine with either one. You know, I would like to see him be more conservative, but if he wants to pitch Price in that situation, that's fine. But pick one, because it's what John Farrell did with the bullpen last year. Guys didn't know what situations they were going to be in, and it made it very tough to prepare mentally. And we know how important the mental state is to pitching. Alex Cora is now doing this to the starting pitchers. You need to let them know what situations they're going to be in before the game. You can't just have a guy go out his first 5 starts and have a hard 7-inning limit on him and then throw him out there in the 8th. And then to your point, if you're going to throw him back out there, have the bullpen ready to go.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to go back to what you said, too, because I didn't even really think about this because I'm so used to John Farrell only pitching Craig Kimbrel in the 9th inning. The fact that you didn't have Craig Kimbrel ready to go, and again, I'll even say Carson Smith. I don't care who it was.
I want to know what
somebody out there.
I want to know what Alex Cora's non-traditional Craig Kimbrel usage, what that idea was when he said it in spring training.
6th
Did
inning.
He was going to use them when they were losing? Did it mean he was going to use them when they were up by 5?
It was the perfect time.
It was the definition of the time. All right, you need this out. You need this out. Put in your best pitcher. I love Chris Sale. I said this all season last season. I'm going to say it all season again this season. Craig Kimbrel's the best pitcher on the Boston Red Sox. Craig Kimbrel's the best pitcher in the American League. You go to him in that situation. He gets that out. He gets Chris Davis. I'm not saying David Price couldn't, but he didn't.
He grooved a changeup. Or was a changeup, right? It was a changeup right down the pipe.
Yeah, it was not a good pitch.
And then you want to talk about another mistake, just getting off the David Price scenario situation. So there was, I think it was, what was it, the top of the 8th inning, the Red Sox, they're threatening. You have Christian Vasquez up, okay? You have Mookie Betts. You have Mookie Betts sitting there on your bench, and he was warming up, preparing just in case Vasquez got on base. Why isn't Mookie Betts hitting in that situation for Christian Vasquez?
I think they brought Mookie Betts
the offense.
I think they brought Mookie Betts back too early from injury. I think they wanted to give him that extra day off. Again, maybe Alex Cora is chasing stats. He wanted to stretch the win streak in April. He didn't care if Mookie Betts is fully healthy.
He was getting cocky. Absolutely. You could tell.
They should have given Mookie Betts the day off. What was it? He got hurt on a Thursday, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then he played the next day. They should have just given him that day off, and then maybe he could have played on Sunday. Alex Cora early on seems like a stat chaser to me. And that's concerning. Look, he's done a good job. They're 17-3. And I think I said 19 games in at the top of this. I know it's 20. I'm bad at math.
17-4.
21 games in. I'm really bad at math. But I don't like how much of a stat chaser Alex Cora is. And that's going to get really concerning in the playoffs when stats don't matter at all.
He's a player's guy. And I know we got to wrap this up, but he's a player's guy. Absolutely. And the thing is,
you can be a player's guy and not be a stat chaser.
Well, it wouldn't shock me if he went up to Price in the bullpen and said, look, Price, do you think you can make it through the 8th? I got to get somebody up. Price said yes. Of course he's going to say yes. Price said, okay, you're my guy.
Somebody up. He went into that inning.
I know, I'm with you.
He went into that inning thinking, David Price is going to get through this inning. We're going to score runs. Price is going to get the win. Kimbrel's going to get the save.
Yep.
What's that old saying? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And Alex Cora only did half of that.
No,
that's what I have an issue with.
I'm with you. In the whole game in general, it was a throwaway game. It was a throwaway game. Look at they had no intention of winning that game.
You know what? They're lucky enough that they have throwaway games at this point. They may have already, in theory, clinched a playoff spot. The magic number for the division is down to like 140, which is actually pretty low. Like, that sounds funny. That's actually pretty low for this time of the year.
Yeah.
Because all that means
17 and 4.
If the Red Sox win 70 games and Toronto loses 70 games, you have to take the Yankees out of the equation in this, but if the Red Sox win 70, Toronto lose 70, Red Sox win the division. That's very realistic. Now, the Yankees will factor into that too, so Who knows? But we got a lot of time to talk about that. For more Red Sox coverage, follow us on Twitter at Red Sox CLNS. Check us out online as well, clnsmedia.com. For Nick Quaglia, I'm Alex Barth. This has been a Red Sox Roundtable. We'll talk to you on the next one.